Give us a good sort of maybe a heartwarming anecdote of something that about some of the good things you've seen about how people have come together either in the Texas Tech community or in the Baylor community since the pandemic has happened. A good deed, a moral act, somebody who's risen in the community and done some really good things that you've seen in the community, in either community that you can kind of speak to?
Yeah. Well, if you'd given me an hour, I could probably make some phone calls and get some stuff together off the top of my head. It's a little bit more difficult. But I know, like I mentioned, Moon. I mean, uh, poor for her. Through losing her grandmother and then coming back to campus, and then she and another player that's a junior actually graduated in December, and a lot was made of their graduation on the night that happened. You know, it's not during the pandemic necessarily, but Baylor's All American last year, Lauren Cox. Uh, was she was one of the best players in the country. She's also type 1 diabetic, and she used that platform of being type 1 diabetic to raise awareness, to tell kids that were type 1 diabetic that, hey, you can persevere and you can make it, and you can even be a college athlete and still deal with this situation. And Baylor had a game, like they had T1D night, I think 2 or 3 years in a row, where they emphasized Lauren's platform and helped her to raise awareness for type 1 diabetes. And they even had her sister played at Lubbock Christian, so they had Lubbock Christian come and play in an exhibition game, and kind of helped her with that platform. And then, she would speak at like the Baylor Club, like the restaurant in the stadium, and all these people would come, and they raise all this money, and they wanted to make sure people, were aware of what she was going through. And then, like back in December. In fact, it was the day after I just covered the state championship football game the night before, and the next night, Baylor's handing out gifts at a fire station. And so here you are in the middle of a pandemic, and these athletes want to keep playing and they want to be in a bubble. But you know what? They're still out there at the fire station taking gifts to kids and sitting and watching them open the gifts, and
Wow.
engaging with them like that. And it's like these athletes, they don't show up, looking like they twisted their arm. They look like they want to be there. And I talked to Moon that night, and, they were going to do their team stuff and whatever. And so, I know I kind of, went on and on about all the family situations, and I could probably go, give me an hour and I could go, collect all these stories. But, and like Lubbock, Texas, for example, is a very conservative city, and the amount of the divisiveness that there's been over the last year, everywhere has been, obvious. But, Texas Tech is wearing this like Apple Core thing on their jerseys, and it's because one of the players, Kyler Edwards, one of their junior players, guy that was on that played in the national championship game. He had this idea that we want to symbolize this, and we want to get rid of the bad apples in all walks of life. And so they had this apple core to represent that on their jerseys. And Lubbock, Texas isn't exactly a place where wearing a BLM hat or shirt is going to get you very far with very many people. But yet, they take this other symbol and they say this is how we're going to express this, and people are on board with it. So. I don't know if those are good examples or not of what you're asking.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Chad, now let's tackle the kind of the back end of the pandemic, not the COVID and how to manage that, but the rollout of the vaccine. What, if anything, is happening with the administration of the vaccine to any university, athletic department, personnel at Baylor or anywhere else in Texas?
Well, this is where if Chad Conine were president, this is what would happen, and this it would probably be a total mess. But just go give all the college basketball players the vaccine. Just everybody, the minute your team is chosen for the tournament, you get the vaccine and you go play the tournament, because the NCAA tournament is absolutely my favorite sport event of the year, and it was wiped out last year, and it's probably not going to be the same this year. But that's not going to happen. The doctors that need it, the people that are in their 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s that need it, they're going to get it. And gosh, when you think about 330 million people in the country and what it takes, to even address what was it? How many people voted in the election? 150 million, 160 million, and so that's
Mhm.
something that we did over the course of 6 weeks in voting, or however many weeks it was in voting, and only half the people did it, or I mean, obviously not everybody is, of age and and registered to vote,
But it wasn't
but
unprecedented, though. Yeah.
yeah, but when you think about trying to get something done I mean, what did Joe Biden say when his first 100 days he wants to see 100 million people vaccinated, and that's a high bar, that's like, hey, we're gonna shoot for this to get 100 million people vaccinated. Well, I'm all for it. I'm pulling for that. Get all those people vaccinated, because you know what? I want to go out in May and cover a dang high school baseball game and eat a Subway sandwich in my car, and then drive home, and just have something like I was eating at barbecues at my friends' houses on Friday nights in the spring, and I'm like, this is fun and all, but this is not what I do, you know.
Yeah.
So,
The things we take for granted, we're looking forward to getting them back, and it's made us
right.
appreciate it over this sort of COVID winter, particularly. Uh,
Yeah,
Chad, thanks a lot for joining us.
absolutely. Yeah, thank you for having me.